there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We've been off a couple days. I hope everybody's doing good. If you've not been here before, welcome to our Hillbilly train. This is Hillbilly Crime. And my name is Elizabeth. And Sweet Tater is taking her new little rescue doggie to have her female surgery today. So she is busy. That's one thing that we've always done is try and take in as many rescue pups as we can. And so she's got one more addition to her little family at home. Let's see. Everybody's already here. We got Beagle Mom, Gerald Scott, Lori Dean. Hello, everyone. I'll be watching from London, Kentucky. Gerald Scott is down there where there's a lot of craziness taking place. So that's where the search warrant, the wrong address search warrant, and then recently there was another big story from London, and we're going to be looking at that too. The family has reached out to me. And so hopefully we will have, we're going to invite one of them on the show. And we also have we're planning another guest show this week. One of my boys, old school teachers, has had a serious issue that she's been dealing with and needs some attention. So we're going to be doing that too. All right. Jesus loves you. Is this Elizabeth singing? No, not yet. So the song, what we play for right now is just the AI demo. So that's just the AI demo for now. But I'm going to try and sing it. I'm working on a guitar player to play it for me. And we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. If it doesn't sound better than that, we'll just leave that one up there. Coal miner's daughter watching from Tennessee. This will be a good one. Thank you for all you do for our people. I saw one I was wanting to highlight. Lori Dean. Looks like Elizabeth's been doing some homework. Well, and I have to say thank you to everybody who sends me tips, because a whole lot of our stuff comes from our viewers. A ton of it comes from our viewers. Here it is. This is the one I was looking for. Striving for Titus 2. Me too. Very familiar faces on the screen. All right. So let's pull this up. Put it this way. So we're going to look at this first one. Federal whistleblower lawsuit takes aim at Whitesburg Health Corporation and 9 Eastern Kentucky pharmacies. Now, this was in March 28th, or it was March 28th of 2016. Okay. And this is going to show us a connection, and it shows us a history of misconduct, alleged misconduct. And it also shows us the protection that the courts seem to be providing for these entities. And I've been saying from the very beginning that a lot of this stuff going on down in Whitesburg, in my opinion, is about money. I think money is at the root of every bit of it. I think that the sexual stuff is just a side benefit. But I mean, I could be wrong, of course, but let's read this and see. I've got about 4 or 5 that we're going to look at that all revolves around this. Okay. And it kind of shows us those connections. All right. A 40-page lawsuit claims Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, that's the MCHC in Whitesburg. This is the clinic that I showed you guys. It's a nonprofit, and it's where Dr. Van Breeding, we looked at their salaries, and it looks like his salary is like almost 3 times higher than the second in line. All the rest of them make about a little over $600,000 a year, but Breeding was almost $2 million. It was 1.8 something million a year. So that's just what he gets as his salary. And somebody said he was chief of staff, which he very well could be. Very well could be. But it just goes to show you how much money they're making, right, on the backs of the addicts. He lost his license for Florida back in 2005, 2008. We went through and looked, and he had been suspended here in Kentucky for writing opioid prescriptions and inappropriate billing practices. So he was not able to write any opioids, no pain medicine, for a very long time, several years. And doesn't look like anything happened after that. He was given back his stuff. Suspension was over or whatever. I'm not too knowledgeable about how medical licenses are disciplined. So, but we read all of that. So if you're interested in that, go look in the playlist. You'll find the video where we went through the salaries and stuff like that. Okay. A 40-page lawsuit claims MCHC in Whitesburg and 9 Eastern Kentucky pharmacies were involved in an alleged kickback scheme. William and Jennifer Hall filed the lawsuit in July, but it was just unsealed last week. William Hall is a pharmacist at Superior Drug Center in Whitesburg. He said he found out about the alleged scheme after seeking to take part in the 340B drug pricing program. The program intends to help drug providers serve needy citizens. Okay, so first off, remember that we're talking about the needy. Okay, so this is a program that was put together to serve the most vulnerable, the most needy of the community. So that's so what it looks like to me is this shows a past history of taking advantage of people, situations, crises. Serve the needy citizens. Pharmacies under contract receive prescription drugs at a substantial discount. The lawsuit claims MCHC obtained drugs at a discount price and contracted pharmacies who then billed the government for the full price of the drugs. The lawsuit goes on to add MCHC would then receive a kickback from the pharmacies. An example in the lawsuit claims customers paying cash were charged $23 for the drug Nexium. However, those paying with insurance were allegedly asked to pay nearly $200 for the same prescription. The complaint alleges those pharmacies then paid MCHC a kickback of about $106. So they're making 3 times what they're even selling it for a person with paying cash. Shame. This is shameful. Shameful. Where's the ethical? Where's the ethics? You know, I realize that sometimes people, I guess maybe might roll their eyes at me a whole lot because I talk a lot about ethics. I talk a lot about accountability. I talk a lot about responsibility. Well, I've told you about my degrees and my educational background, but I don't think I've actually given the proper name for my master's degree. It's in criminal justice, but the actual name, the program name that my master's is in is Juvenile Justice, Policy, and Leadership. So I had to take a whole lot of classes on ethics. I had to take a whole lot of classes on policies and procedures. And so that stuff is really important to me. And if you get in a court of law with these people, it's really important to them too. Unless they're behind closed doors where nobody's looking. If nobody's looking, well, we see what their decisions end up costing the rest of us. And I'm saying that in a general sense, not just what we're looking at today. In a general sense of anybody in authority, a position of authority, where your decisions directly impact and affect other people, especially people who are depending on your knowledge and your ethics. Okay. MCHC CEO Mike Cottle, he was in that list of employees for MCHC. He was one of the highest. I think he might have been the second highest salary, so he makes his money. We want to assure, let's see how good this public statement is. How reassured does it make you feel? We want to assure our patients that we at MCHC work hard to not only provide the very best medical care to our patients, but also to make sure that we are in compliance with all applicable statutes, rules, and regulations at all levels of government under which we work. We are confident that at the end of this process, it will have been demonstrated that we have conducted ourselves appropriately and in a lawful manner that has legitimately maximized our ability to care for those people who are most important to us, our patients. Well, looks to me like he had a real good, what's it called? He had a real good chat GPT. Oh, that was a very politically correct response. And it also sounded a lot like word salad. I don't think half the people would really understand what it even said. It had a whole lot of words, but it didn't really address anything, did it? It just said, look at us, look at us. We are good. And we're doing everything we can to maximize. Oh, not profits. What? No. The lawsuit asks MCHC and contracted pharmacies to stop alleged unlawful activity and pay the government 3 times the amount of damages. In a March 18th court filing, U.S. Attorney Carrie B. Harvey filed a notice of election to decline intervention in the case, meaning that the federal government has decided not to prosecute MCHC over the allegations in the lawsuit. Who made that decision? I wonder who made that decision. Was it Andy Beshear? Was it Matt Bevin? Or was it the Attorney General's office? Who made that decision? And how much money has been donated to their campaign? Maybe even by Tim Robinson. Because all these guys are really, really good friends. They all sit on each other's boards. They all sit on each other's committees. The nonprofits and the for-profits. Remember, ARC is a for-profit company. Heal. Breedings, baby. Heal is a for-profit company. Unless I have that wrong, which I don't think that I do. We've looked and looked and looked. And from what we've found in the IRS records and stuff, that's a for-profit company. And it's acting in, I assumed it was a nonprofit. But you know what happens when you assume? Until I went digging. And it's not a nonprofit, it's a for-profit. So all of these donations and stuff, just know that's a for-profit company that people are donating to. All right. The decision came about 8 months after Hall, a Whitesburg pharmacist, and his wife filed their lawsuit against MCHC. The following pharmacies are listed as defendants in the lawsuit: Isom Community Pharmacy, Parkway Pharmacy and Sundries of Whitesburg, Whitesburg Medical Center Pharmacy, Whitesburg Pharmacy, Boonville Discount Drugs, B&H Apothecary in Richmond, Owsley Prescription Center in Beattyville, Harlan Medical Center Pharmacy, LB Clinic Pharmacy in Cornettsville. The United States Department of Justice provides this memorandum to help the public gain a brief general overview of quitom litigation, I guess. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. Under the False Claims Act. The False Claims Act, 31, okay, whatever that means, provides for liability for triple damages and a penalty from $5,500 to $11,000 per claim for anyone who knowingly submits or causes the submission of a false or fraudulent claim to the United States. The statute, first passed in 1863, includes an ancient legal device called a quitom provision, from a Latin phrase meaning "he who brings a case on behalf of our Lord the King, as well as for himself." This provision allows a private person known as a relator to bring a lawsuit on behalf of the United States, where the private person has information that the named defendant has knowingly submitted or caused the submission. Hey, get in here. Go on. We'll stop that before it even gets started. Let's see. Let me figure out where I was at. My neighbors are just awful. It's awful. They are awful people, and they have horrible animals. Let's see. Sounds like somebody's being attacked. They bit me. They bite me all the time. Nothing ever is done about it. Cops don't care. All right. Sorry, y'all. This provision allows a private person known as a relator to bring a lawsuit on behalf of the United States where the private person has information that the named defendant has knowingly submitted or caused the submission of false or fraudulent claims to the United States. So I'm assuming, I'm guessing what this means is these people knew that MCHC and the defendants were submitting false, fraudulent insurance claims, billing claims is what that sounds like to me, right? Which they were pharmacists. They owned a pharmacy. So it's, they had knowledge, or they wouldn't have brought the suit. The False Claims Act has a very detailed process for the filing and pursuit of these claims. The quitom relator must be represented by an attorney. The quitom complaint must by law be filed under seal, which means that all records relating to the case must be kept on a secret docket by the clerk of the court. Copies of the complaint are given only to the United States Department of Justice, including the local United States attorney. and to the assigned judge of the district court. That's Mullins's court, is a district court. The court may, usually upon motion by the United States Attorney, make the complaint available to other persons. But if this is a federal suit, which I think it is, I don't think Mullins would have had anything to do with this because it would have been in a federal court. But let's read it and find out. I was not aware of this. I had not seen this. And if I did, it wouldn't have jarred anything in my mind, you know. Got a new member. Miss Jackie Moore. Welcome, honey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The complaint and all other filings in the case remain under seal for a period of at least 60 days. At the conclusion of the 60 days, the Department of Justice must, if it wants the case to remain under seal, file a motion with the district judge showing good cause why the case should remain under seal. In the usual course, these motions request an extension of the seal for 6 months at a time. In addition to the complaint filed with the district court, the relator, through his or her counsel, must serve upon the Department of Justice a disclosure statement containing substantially all the evidence in the possession of the relator about the allegations set forth in the complaint. This disclosure statement is not filed in any court and is not available to the named defendant. This is the whistleblower stuff, right? So this is a federal whistleblower lawsuit. Leslie Minix. Look at Dr. Don Bryson and his son, which was a pharmacist. They had a PA working in the office. This was a cash only. No insurance was taken. That's how a lot of them do around here, have done around here. We're on the back side of all of this too. Like when all of the treatment centers were first established here, they were all an all cash business. They didn't take any insurance. It didn't matter if you had Medicaid. Didn't matter if you had private insurance and was richy rich. It didn't matter. It was all cash. Couldn't pay with nothing else. You couldn't even take a cashier's check to them. You couldn't write them a check. No, it was cash. You got $400. If you don't, exit left. Because there was a whole line of people there who did have their $400 in their pocket. And that was just for treatment. That was just for Suboxone treatment. It's really been difficult for the people who were trying to get into treatment, the people who've been in treatment. Like me, I'm 15 years in. Well, a whole lot of us are. I'm not the only one. There's a ton that are out here that are more like me. They just don't tell it. Dr. Breeding was very against Suboxone and MAT treatment. He wouldn't have nothing to do with it back in the day. Nothing to do with it. One of my friends was at a basketball game at LCC one night, and his wife was sitting there in the stands, and she was going on and on about, allegedly, was going on and on about how he couldn't stand being down there with all them drug addicts. He couldn't stand talking to them. He couldn't stand looking at them, let alone look at them. I mean, be careful who you're sitting at a basketball game with, running your mouth, because somebody's sitting there next to you listening to it. And in the meantime, he's down there in town on camera telling everybody how much he's going to give everybody some treatment and recovery. Come on down to the hub, y'all. Drink you a cup of coffee. Use the internet. But it closes at 4:00. It's to help the homeless. It's to help all these addicts. We're going to do so much. Can't believe nothing these people say. The wealthy keep getting wealthier. We're going to let me risk my license, my medical license, writing everybody off pain pills, writing everybody these prescriptions. And then I'm going to resent all of them, big resentment towards them all because they're the reason my license got taken away or suspended or whatever. And now all of a sudden I'm going to come in like a savior. Come on, everybody. I got all the answers. Let me have your money. Give me all that opioid settlement money. We're going to train all of our law enforcement. It's a joke, y'all. It's a freaking joke. Makes me so upset. I had to go to the dental. I had a dentist appointment last week. And I went in and to Pikeville. And they ask you, what all medicine you're on and da-da-da. And I put on there that I was in Suboxone. I take Suboxone. And when the dentist came in to talk to me, he was like, ain't they started weaning you off that stuff yet? This man was he was in his 50s or 60s. But he had that same attitude. And here I am trying to educate him on Suboxone. He didn't have no amount of education was going to change that man's mind. I've been there, done that 15 years ago. I tried my hardest to change people's minds. But it's those kind of people that have medical some sort of medical degree where they think that they are know-it-alls and their opinions are the only ones that matter. They're the only ones that are ever right, And that was how breeding was years ago before they started Matt down there. And he wasn't the only one. Back then, Bella. Back then, doctors had to be certified. Like they had to take a special class and get a special certification to be able to prescribe it. Not just any doctor could prescribe it. Well, a lot of them didn't want it. They wouldn't have nothing to do with it. They weren't planning on prescribing it. Nothing. Well, that made it a lot harder on people needing treatment. You had to drive like to Pikeville or Prestonsburg or Tennessee, or you had to drive somewhere to find you a doctor. That was when all these clinics around here started popping up. And then several years ago, they finally they opened up those restrictions. So your family doctor could prescribe it, but a lot of them around here wouldn't do it. They would not do it because they were afraid it would harm their reputation, their precious reputations. My doctor, I was her very first Suboxone patient. She's a family doctor, has been in family practice for decades. She is, in my opinion, the best doctor around. But she still does home visits for her elderly clients, for any patients who are homebound and can't get out. She'll come. She'd go see you at your home. We don't have many of those left. But she opened up her family practice to include a Suboxone clinic. And half of, well, I don't want to say half, but many of her patients, her normal patients, I've been in the waiting room when they get upset and leave. I've heard patients say, well, I'm not going back there no more. They're going to be treating them kind of people. I'm not going to be sitting in that waiting room with all them people. I mean, the stigma is just unbelievable towards this. And this is the attitude and mindset that you had down there in Whitesburg by all of them. By all of them. Ark, I can't tell you how many times I've sat and talked to Matt Brown till I was blue in the face. And they just placate you and nod and yes, yes. And it's a fake charm that they try and turn on. It's a very fake charm. The preacher, he's full of it. Full of it. Full of it. Not everybody can see that. When you're desperate and you're lonely and you're needing some counseling, you're needing some guidance, you feel rejected and just down and hit your rock bottom, somebody that comes along like the preacher, it's going to get your attention. How do you take advantage of people like that? How do you find people at their lowest and take advantage of that? Ben Fields, same thing. These women were at their lowest. All of these people, you're throwing them in jail in a concrete. Now we say that, but try and imagine, look around you where you're at right now. Try and imagine being in a concrete slab all around you, filth. I mean, it's just filth, bodily fluids on the walls. There ain't no clean place to lay yourself up against a wall. It's all disgusting. There ain't no seat. They might give you a little mat that's about this thick to throw on the floor, and it's about the size of my dog's bed on a concrete floor. And if there's so many women in there, then your head might be right up against the toilet bowl that everybody's got to share. Jail's not a fun place to be. And if people are swearing out false warrants or, they can arrest you for anything. They don't have to have no reason. Not around here, they don't. One boy told me he was leaving court, and Ben walked out the door, allegedly, and said, "You look like you're high on Suboxone. Come on." Took him back into the jail and arrested him. On house arrest. He'd been on house arrest. He came to court, came to pay stuff. Same way Ben swore out those warrants on Sabrina. Don't do what I tell you, you're going back to jail. Or you can go to rehab. We're going to send you to ARC. And the MCHC's then on it. Here, we've got another article too about MCHC treating the inmates at the jail. All right, let me get through all this. I'll try to quit talking, y'all. All right. In addition to the complaint filed with the district court, the relator, through his or her counsel, must serve upon the Department of Justice a disclosure statement containing substantially all the evidence in the possession of the relator about the allegations set forth in the complaint. This disclosure statement is not filed in any court. It is not available to the named defendant. I already read that, sorry. Under the False Claims Act, the Attorney General or a Department of Justice attorney must investigate the allegations of violations in the False Claims Act. So would that be the same Attorney General who's best buddies with Tim Robinson, ARC's founder? I don't know, 2016, was that the same Attorney General? Does anybody know? The investigation usually involves one or more law enforcement agencies, such as the Office of Inspector General of the victim agency, the Postal Inspection Service, or the FBI, because our FBI investigations around here have been so successful. Yeah. They haven't just jumped on the same bandwagon with the rest of them. Oh, no. Scott Blair is all I got to say about that. In some investigations where state agencies are victims, and we will see how well the FBI investigation into ARC's Medicaid fraud. Let's wait and see what that turns up, because there have been enough whistleblowers come from ARC employees. We ain't just talking about clients. I told y'all the other day, most of my sources are not recovering addicts. Most of my sources are prior employees, previous employee, or current employees of different agencies, of different areas that we talk about. It's family members, not of the victims. Does that make sense? That's how many people are upset about all of this stuff. They're not going to be saying nothing to their face. Like I always say, this stuff's been talked about for a long time, just behind your back. That power and wealth, it doesn't gain you loyalty. It really don't. Under the False Claims Act, see, I already read that one. The investigation will often involve specific investigative techniques, including subpoenas for documents or electronic records, witness interviews, compelled oral testimony from one or more individuals or organizations, and consultations with experts. If there is a parallel criminal investigation, search warrants and other criminal investigation tools may be used to obtain evidence as well. At the conclusion of the investigation, or earlier, if so directed by the court, the Department of Justice must choose one of three options named in the False Claims Act. Number one, intervene in one or more counts of the pending quitom action. This intervention expresses the government's intention to participate as a plaintiff in prosecuting that count of the complaint. Fewer than 25% of filed quitom actions result in an intervention on any count by the Department of Justice. Well, that just says it all right there, doesn't it? Decline to intervene in one or all counts of the pending quitom action. If the United States declines to intervene, the relator and his or her attorney may prosecute the action on behalf of the United States, but the United States is not a party to the proceedings apart from its right to any recovery. This option is frequently used by relators and their attorneys. Or number three, move to dismiss the relator's complaint, either because there is no case or the case conflicts with significant statutory or policy interests of the United States. All right. So that is that one. And we'll read this one here. What do you guys think? Yeah. So glad you. Oh, I thought you said. I thought when I read it, I thought it said, Elizabeth, so glad you are alive. I was getting ready to say, yeah, thanks, me too. Me too. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Committed to exposing the truth with accuracy, fairness, and integrity in every piece of content. Thank you, Sissy. Thank you. Let's look and see what everybody thinks here. Bits and blinkers. Eastern Kentucky corruption continues because the corrupt hire family members and compensate them in one way or another to maintain their silence. Absolutely. Absolutely. We already read that one. Striving for Titus 2. This is exactly why at least 5 decades of corruption has been allowed to exist. The evil extends to the federal level. Absolutely. Give me just a second here. We stop sharing that. And there we go. Richard Smiley. No, I don't have Zelle yet. I was trying to think of what other ones I needed. Okay, Zelle. I'll get that one up there too, honey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let me pull these others up real quick. It's just crazy. I'll show you this one first. Very, very interesting. Okay. So this is the, it's a thing on Kentucky, and it shows us county official cannot hire, these are all different, see, it's got different icons here, and each icon means something different. So this first one here, county officials cannot hire family members in his or her office, and it shows us all the counties and the rules associated with each county. Okay, so here it is. Let's go down, and this second one, we'll look at it. County cannot hire family members, plural, singular or plural, of elected county officials. Okay, then this next one, county officials can hire family members under certain conditions. County officials can hire unlimited number of family members. County officials can hire no more than one family member. 2. And then the last one, there are some one-offs. In Metcalfe County, members of elected officials can be hired if a rule of necessity is issued. In Casey County, family members of elected officials can be hired if the elected official doesn't do the hiring. In Warren County, family members of elected officials can be hired upon review by an independent committee. All right, so let's go down here to Letcher County. All right, there it is. Letcher. So there's the little X. So it's in this column here. So let's go up and see which one it is. Okay, it's this one with 2 X's or 1 X completely. So it's this one. So Letcher County, according to what they have on file, and I'm assuming this would be our fiscal court who would be making this since it's county wide, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's our fiscal court or not. But it seems like this would be something our fiscal court would be voting on. All right, so Letcher County, right here. County cannot hire family members of elected county officials. How many family members you think are in these offices, y'all? Oops. Didn't know that existed. That's crazy. Oh. Right. Do it this way. Sometimes it messes up. Sheesh. All right. So this is on the lawsuit. This was March 31st, 2016. Whitesburg, Kentucky. A community health provider and a number of pharmacies in Kentucky are being sued for allegedly billing the federal government inflated prices for prescription drugs, a news report said Thursday. The lawsuit says Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, or MCHC, and 9 pharmacies billed far more than is allowed for prescription drugs to people covered by federal insurance programs like Medicaid. The Lexington Herald Leader reports that attorneys for pharmacist William R. Hall and his wife Jennifer Hall filed the lawsuit in July, but it was sealed until recently. The lawsuit states that Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, or MCHC, and 9 pharmacies billed more than allowed for providing prescription drugs to people covered by federal insurance. The suit also alleges that the company and pharmacies charged people covered by federal programs far more than they charged patients who paid with cash. The suit alleges, for instance, that pharmacies under contract to MCHC charged a cash patient $23 for a prescription of the acid reflux drug Nexium, but charged third-party payers, including Medicare, $196 to $199 in late 2012. The overbilling could total millions, the suit states. A pharmacy that charges the government a price for prescription drugs that is substantially higher than the pharmacy's price to the general public does not provide the drugs economically to the government, the complaint stated. LM Mike Cottle, MCHC's chief executive officer, so the CEO, says the company had not been served with the lawsuit and could not comment on allegations. He said, however, that the company followed the law. We are confident that at the end of this process, it will have been demonstrated that we have conducted ourselves appropriately and in a lawful manner that has legitimately maximized our ability to care for those people who are the most important to us, that being our patients, he said. Okay. Now, let's go over here and we're going to look at the controversy surrounding this program, surrounding the 340B program. You know what that sounds like to me? It sounds to me like the Senate 90 bill that everybody keeps shouting out about Judge Mullins, right? Judge Mullins had the Senate 90 bill. He was the one who ran the pilot program for the state. And these are the companies who they're using. These are the companies who are making all this money, who are getting all of this opioid money, all of the money that's being given to this area for people in treatment, to help people in treatment. But you ask anybody around here, how have you benefited? How has it helped you? We've already been in treatment for 15 years. We've already established our, whoever the counselor would be, which around here, I'm telling you, ain't every counselor I've ever had, I was the counselor for them. There ain't a whole lot of competent mental health workers. I don't know how to say it. You're dealing with a lot of stigma. A lot of stigma. If they have not been through this themselves, they just don't get it. There's a huge, huge divide in the recovery community between those who are abstinent and those who are in MAT. It's kind of like the way that I've experienced it personally. People who were abstinent, they just resented the heck out of me because I took medicine. It was all like, well, mine's the one that actually counts. I'm not taking anything. You took the easy way out. I'm the one suffering over here every day. Well, go take you some medicine. You don't have to live that way. You don't have to be miserable. I mean, that's my response. Because I feel great, man. Every day I'm able to take care of my kids, you know. I'm able to be a mom. I'm responsible. I'm accountable. I do as much as I possibly can to keep a roof over our heads. It's just a huge there's so much involved that if you're not aware of a lot of this stuff, you know, you could make things a whole lot worse if you don't know what the hell you're doing. And that's the way that it's been a lot. People didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they still don't. But they're catching on. I guess a little better late than never. All right, the controversy surrounding 340B program. This was February 28th, 2022. Prescription drug prices have faced a lot of controversy over the past few years, most recently with the federal 340B program. Under Section 340B of the Public Health Service Act, drug manufacturers who participate agree to provide a discount to eligible hospitals and other covered entities who serve low-income individuals not covered by Medicare and Medicaid. So you got a whole lot of people in this area who don't have Medicaid, who don't have any insurance, but they're still in Suboxone treatment. So they have to pay for their medicine and they have to pay for their doctor's visits. The purpose is to pass along the discount to these uninsured individuals. Hospitals, which maintain their own in-house pharmacies, easily participate. However, some hospitals have contracted outside private pharmacies to provide pharmaceutical coverage for their 340B eligible patients based on guidance from the Health Resources and Services Administration in 1996. In 2010, HRSA regulations began to allow providers to contract more than one pharmacy and still remain eligible for the 340B discount. In the summer and fall of 2020, 6 drug manufacturers announced that they would no longer provide the 340B discount to entities who used contract pharmacies if they have an on-site pharmacy as well. Their reasoning involved concerns over these contracted pharmacies violating the law and receiving duplicate discounts from both 340B and Medicare or Medicaid. So they're double dipping. They're getting it from both ends. Now, if that was anybody else, you know, they'd be charged. There'd be charges being brought. Why ain't they charges being brought? No, they declined to prosecute. Oh, okay. Sounds about right, don't it? As policymakers and others began to look more closely at 340B, it became clear that was just one of the problems with the program. Fraud, a lack of transparency, and failure to pass savings along to the patient are all areas that need to be addressed. Often pharmacies do not know at the time of purchase if the patient is 340B eligible or not. One way of addressing that problem are claims modifiers. A claims modifier is an electronic tag that allows providers and pharmacies to determine a patient's 340B eligibility. Without a claims modifier, patients frequently pay the full list price for their prescription instead of the discounted rate. In fact, a 2015 GAO report found that less than 50% of the pharmacies pass that discount along to the patient. I mean, that's just, how do you lay your head down and sleep at night when you do these kinds of things? I don't know how they do it. I don't. Last year, Arkansas passed legislation mandating drug manufacturers sell to all contract pharmacies at the 340B rate and preventing claims modifier requirements. Essentially, the state was expanding the 340B program beyond what is in the federal statute, which does not address contract pharmacies. Despite several lawsuits to clarify the requirements of the federal statute and the issue of contract pharmacies, other states have tried to pass similar legislation this year. Requiring manufacturers to sell to contract pharmacies at the 340B discount is price fixing. Unfortunately, many legislatures on both sides of the aisle don't see it that way. Really? Government fixed prices of prescription drugs will not benefit the patients. Instead, it will cost us cures, innovation, and research from the pharmaceutical industry. History tells us time and again that government solutions to problems rarely have the intended effect. Legislators understandably worry about the cost of prescription drugs and making sure their constituents have access to the medicines they need. However, fixing the price of drugs is not the way to accomplish that goal. Opportunities for meaningful reform exist for policymakers to consider methods to provide rebates directly to patients rather than pharmacies. As to 340B, policymakers should look to the supply chain and ways to keep companies from hoarding the savings derived from discount programs. Affordable medicine is essential for the well-being of society, but a careful balance must be struck to guarantee that manufacturers will continue to invest and produce. Okay. Now, let's go over to this other one. I'm telling you guys, you just cannot. Who would have ever dreamed that these local places were doing this kind of stuff? It's very disturbing. Very disturbing. Okay. Now we're going to look at the fiscal court. Let me get rid of all these others so my computer's not going crazy. Okay. This was January 19th, 2022. And this looks like it was written by my friend, Chris Anderson. He's our boys' baseball coach. And I adore Chris. We all love Chris. He's a good dude, and he was a great reporter. All right. The inmates at the Letcher County Jail will soon receive necessary medical services from Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation of Whitesburg, MCHC. So they were sure getting their hand in on this. Here comes all the money. Here comes all the program money, y'all. At its January meeting this week, the fiscal court approved entering into a contract with MCHC for medical services for inmates lodged in the jail. MCHC will succeed Whitesburg ARH Hospital, which currently provides medical services for the inmates. Letcher County Attorney Jamie Hatton said Whitesburg ARH had requested to end its contract with the county for the jail's medical services for various reasons, although he did not elaborate on those reasons. Of course not. Hatton told the court that since the Letcher County Jail is capable of and actively houses state prisoners, that's where they get trustees. That's why old Ben was allowed to be a trustee and stay right there in his house jail. The jail is required to have an agreement in place for medical services for all the facility inmates. I did my master's thesis on Kentucky jails not allowing mat treatment and why we needed it. At the time, there wasn't a jail in Kentucky that would do it. And I went down and talked to Bert when I was writing it. And then they started doing it. So, yay. But not because of me, I can promise you. Sorry, y'all. We have to have someone to do it. And Mountain Comp's willing, Hatton said. Hatton said medical services provided to the jail's inmates are considered professional services and thus do not require the contract to be placed up for bid. So they got around the bidding. Oh, okay. Although MCHC will provide medical services per the new agreement, Hatton said Whitesburg ARH will still provide emergency care when necessary for inmates lodged at the jail. Letcher County Jailer Bert Sloan complimented Whitesburg ARH for the services it has provided to the jail, but told the court he believes MCHC will also provide quality care to the jail's inmates. I know what we've had has been wonderful, Sloan said, of Whitesburg ARH's services. But I've spoken with them, MCHC, several times, and they seem to be really excited about coming in and taking care of business for us. Well, of course. How much money they getting? Uh-oh, we're getting ready to see it. The court's action on the measure authorizes Letcher County Judge Executive Terry Adams to negotiate and sign an agreement with MCHC for the medical services for the jail. MCHC's contract with the county will begin effective February 1st. In other business, at Monday's meeting, the first meeting of 2022, the court authorized County Attorney Jamie Hatton to move forward with beginning the process of rebidding for the county's solid waste transportation and disposal. Per the court's action, Hatton will finalize bid specifications and publish an advertisement for bids in the Mountain Eagle in hopes of receiving proposals for the solid waste transfer by the court's February meeting. The action is in response to a rate increase by the county to the county by Somerset-based Watco LLC, a firm contracted to transport Letcher County solid waste to the Laurel Ridge landfill in Laurel County and dump it there. So that is London, Kentucky, where the allegedly corrupt mayor, the one that sent $300,000 or $200,000 to Andy Bashir illegally. No, don't worry about consequences. Those don't even happen around here. No need to worry. The county was informed in October that its rate from Watco for its solid waste transportation out of the county was increasing by $1.45 per ton to a rate of $53.43 per ton. According to County Treasurer DJ Frazier, is DJ Frazier related to LaShawna Frazier? Does anybody know? That rate could add upwards of $2,000 per month onto the county's cost for transporting the waste to the landfill. The court also approved honoring U.S. Army Private Winford, whose name will be placed upon the Blackie Memorial Board. Wow. Good job, Chris. Good job on the article, honey. He sure ain't got nothing to do with what he's writing about. Man, I'm telling you. Sheesh. The only ones... All right. We'll close that down. The only ones getting home are the organizers. Miss Vicky. Coal miner's daughter. He talked to my son like he was garbage when he sought help for alcoholism. He kicked him when he was down. And I'm assuming you're talking about the chief of staff, Mr. Big Shot himself, Fancy Pants. Well, and it looks like these schemes are protected. Isn't that what it looks like? I too have heard Breeding's wife talk about people such as addicts at basketball games. Same day we were at a middle school game against LCC, and she says, break their arm, trip them, and break a leg. Yeah, I've heard all kinds of things about her, their behavior at sporting events and talking. And for some reason, they love to talk about the addicts that her husband is treating. Now, I will say, I haven't heard anything recently. This was all when they were trying to set it all up down there in Whitesburg. because they were not eligible. None of these clinics, none of these practitioners were eligible for any of that money if they did not provide access to MAT treatment. That was something that our legislators put in, thank God, to those funding criteria. They have to offer MAT as a treatment option. And whenever they started it down there at all those HEAL meetings, that was all their big thing. We're going to get them in, start weaning them off at 3 to 6 months with the long-term goal of them completely off Suboxone 1 year. I was like, I laughed right in their face. Made them mad, sent his pit bull on me to tell me how I had no idea what I was talking about. And I was not trained. I was not educated. So I went and I got educated, honey. But I still knew more about this stuff than they did. Because they didn't want anything to do with it. And they sure weren't hiring nobody on it. They couldn't stand to look at us that were actually on it. They sure weren't hiring nobody. Marsha Addington. It's a maintenance program. There's no set time limit. People who have no clue kill me. Well, and I'm going to be on it for the rest of my life. I know what my emotional state is without being medicated. Why does it bother people so bad if I take a medicine every morning? Every morning I get up and I take my medicine. It does not get me high. It does not do anything to me except for keeps my moods on an even keel instead of being like this all day, every day, where you can't do anything. You can't work. You can't function. You're not a very good parent. I mean, you might get by, but if you're not emotionally stable to take care of yourself and keep yourself well, how in the hell do you think you're going to be a good mom? You can't. No, I mean, I don't think you can. I wouldn't have been nearly as successful as what I've been. You know, and everybody is different. Like my girlfriend, she tried to take Suboxone, but she really did not want to take it. Bipolar, like me, went through very, very, very similar experiences and crises, and lives fell apart. Now she was able, a lot of times antidepressants make it worse. Like they've put me on all kinds of them over the years. The only thing that it helped me do was gain 50 pounds in 3 months. My weight was just out of control. And I wasn't really doing well emotionally. Like it wasn't good, but it wasn't, it wasn't even worse, but it wasn't good. It wasn't doing what I was needing. So now she was the same way. Antidepressants didn't help her one bit. Seemed to make it worse for her. Well, her and her doctors ended up putting her on a mood stabilizer. She's doing great now, just with the mood stabilizer. She's not on Suboxone. The mood stabilizer has helped her. Now, maybe if somebody would have put me on a mood stabilizer instead of the antidepressants, maybe I would have had a reaction that way. But that's not what happened. I ended up going into Suboxone treatment, and the Suboxone helped me more than I can ever get anybody to understand. It completely changed my life. Like, it changed me. It changed my life. I'm not on this medicine. It doesn't make me a zombie. You know, I'm not, I can still cry. I'm not, my emotions aren't numbed to a place to where I'm uncaring or anything like that. You know, this is what worked for me. And it's worked for 15 years. Why in God's name would I mess with that? Because somebody who does not know me and wouldn't piss on me if I was on fire. Why do I care if they have a problem with me taking a pill every day to maintain my level of stability and functionality? Like, why does it bother other people so much that I take a medicine? It's no different than a diabetic who needs insulin. Do we yell at them and say, no, you quit eating them Little Debbies and start exercising? But we're not going to give you no medicine because there's another way for you to lose weight. Your diabetes will go away if you just stop eating so much. Is that how we approach people? No, it's not. It's your own fault. You know, this is the kind of attitude that people have. And yes, it is very judgmental, but, you know, look here. Absolutely. If I take insulin, I don't have diabetes, so it will make me a little silly. Why? Because I don't need it. Something with Suboxone, you need it if you need it. You know? And it's all in how they expose people to it too. If you just give them, say, I'm going to write you this medicine and I just want you to take it. If you don't give them any other knowledge, if you don't educate them before you actually give it to them, then they're not going to do anything different than what they've always done. My doctor, I was just so blessed. He sat me down and he explained to me how my body will only absorb a certain amount of it. So if I take more than what I'm prescribed, my body, I'm going to be wasting it because my body's going to be rejecting it, right? You've never heard about anybody ODing and passing away on this medicine because the way it was designed when they created it, it was designed for that purpose. So nobody could actually pass away from it, OD from it. Once your body has absorbed a certain amount of it, the rest of it's just waste. Now, it might make you sicker than a dog, you know, and I'm no doctor. Remember, I'm just sharing with you my experience from it. And so, you know, with an addict, if the bottle says take 2 every 4 hours, just face it. We take 4 every 2 hours. It's just the way your brain is. It's stupid, and it does it backwards. So I never abused it. I never took more than what I was supposed to because I knew previously I'm going to be wasting it. So let's not do that. It's too valuable. You know, it's too hard to get. I'm not going to be wasting it. And just having that knowledge as I went forward made all the difference. Just having that little bit of knowledge made all the difference in the world. Because you have to then start changing your lifestyle. You have to start changing your habits. You know, most addicts, what do? From the time their feet hit the floor in the morning, they're on the run. They're on the hunt. You get out there in your car and you just go from place to place to place, looking to see who's holding, who's good, who's doing good. Where's it at? Where's it at? And then once you find it, then you got to come up with the money. So how am I going to con my way into getting $50 today? Where's the dirty old men? Because that's where a lot of them were. Who can I bum $20 off of? You know, and then you've got ones who, when you're real desperate, they see a chainsaw in somebody's yard. They're going to go grab that chainsaw if they can get by with it. When people started getting into treatment, a lot of that property crime really went down tremendously. Look there, Ganja Gran. You know the connection with attorney Mike Cottle and Dr. Wade Baker, right? They're brothers. Brothers. They're all related. The Bakers established MCHC. Somebody wrote me and gave me the whole breakdown on all of that. And Terry Adams, our judge executive, is Van Breeding's second cousin. Thanks, girl. Yeah, they're all related. All of them's related. Hillbilly Annie. Your parents or loved ones who file have to pay for a court-appointed attorney and the medical visits that are not covered under Medicaid. Those that are poor can't afford it. No, I know. DJ was married to Scott. Yes, the same one as now. Is that? Let's see. I asked if DJ Frazier was related to LaShawna Frazier, who's the assistant at the sheriff's department. Remember, guys? So some of our people are giving us answers to these questions. Jet Electro. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. No thanks. No thanks. Again, I truly understand your past with substances. My husband has been clean for 10 years now. No one should ever let that define the person they can become. No, that's right. Abstinence leads to relapse. It sure does. It sure does. But they stick all these people on TV and they stick a camera in their face and they make them and put them on YouTube and put them on Facebook and put them on the news as these huge, big success stories. Why? Because they completed a 30-day in-house treatment? That's your big success story? That's what you're going to put out there for your reason, your what's the word I'm looking for, y'all? Your proof of your program. This is a product of how good your program is, right? This is how you're helping people. You're giving hope to the community. Let's put the preacher out there and use God's name. Let's bring them in, because we're going to talk about God and forgiveness and redemption. And you're going to put someone like Clark out there on the front lines, knowing what the hell he was all his life. You think leopards change their spots? Well, you got another thing coming, because they don't. The game stays the same. The only thing that changes are the players. And birds of a feather seem to flock together. Cat ride. Unfair. Very, very unfair. But life ain't fair, y'all, so get over it, because that's just that's what most of us have to do. Life sucks. It's hard. Get over it. There's always going to be somebody prettier. There's always going to be somebody smarter. There's always going to be somebody that gets that job when you don't. There's always going to be somebody that's accepted when you're rejected. We're always going to be disappointed. Don't ever put your faith in man. Because, the Bible says they ain't none of us good. No, not one. Not even me. But them arrogant ones, they sure stick their big mug up there in front of a camera, won't they? And then act like, any video that you see that man talking, he needs AI to help him. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about, do you? Oh, my parents have helped my sister many times. The cost is crazy high. Yeah. Wasn't there a lawyer running for judge at one point in Pike County whose husband got in trouble for fraud for a Suboxone clinic? Well, it wouldn't surprise me none. I know Eugene Cisco went to prison, and there was a whole lot of people was in like a class action lawsuit against him. And most people got like, I don't know how much. One person that I know of got like $1,300. And they sent him a prepaid debit card in the mail. And that was their payback, I guess, for all the time. Like, I don't know what their criteria was for that money, but they weren't accepting anybody's insurance. It was all cash. And even though we had insurance, like we had Medicaid to pay for our counseling, they wouldn't accept it. Absolutely would not accept it. So what did our legislatures do? Well, I guess it was them. Somebody in the court system put forth something to say that if a patient had Medicaid, if they had insurance, these places had to accept it. Like they had to take it. They couldn't say, no, we're not going to take your Medicaid. You have to pay us cash, which is what they'd been doing for years. Like it wasn't no new thing. They knew how these clinics were set up. They just kept throwing all the regulations on us and let them go. Let them just keep making money. Rob them, rob whoever you wanted to. Rob the poorest and the most needy of all. I mean, this place was devastated by opioid addiction. Just devastated. People were passing away left and right. And they come in like the big saviors. And it's all fake. It's a fake charm. It's a fakeness that you can see. I mean, it just secretes out of them. And they really think they're fooling people. Ain't never fooled me. These courts and rehabs depend on extorting money from families. They know how to hold it over the addict and family to cough up money. Not only jail the addict, but suppress the family. Absolutely, Terry. Absolutely. And then, you see how it's all coming together. So somebody gets on the radar, you get arrested. You get under their thumb, whether it's in the jail, house arrest, rehab, and then it goes upstairs. Then you got to go in front of the next judge. Then drug court, where my girlfriend said I had a 2-year drug court program. That's what her sentence was. 2-year drug court program. What'd they do to her? They kept making her start over and over and over and over, and she didn't have not one dirty urine. Not one. She said it was my mouth. He didn't like my mouth. And she did 4 years in Letcher County drug court program when she was only sentenced to 2. How do you do that? How much money is the Letcher County Court getting per drug court person? How much money is being made per person who signs up on the drug court program? I'd like to know. And then let's bring in MCHC and we'll let them do the jail. And then we're going to bring in all this money. Now we got the Senate 90 bill in downstairs, and you got drug court in upstairs, and you got the jail, and you got the house arrest, and you got probation and parole. Who's their parole officer down there in upstairs court? Anybody know? She looks like a runway model. Been there a long time. And every time I've ever been in there, you got old Daniel Dotson over there slobbering and drooling all over. Or anybody else that's in there in that courtroom. Very, very unattractive. Very, very unprofessional looking. But who cares what I think, right? We need a better solution than Casey's law, although it does work. However, if you don't have money, you can't afford it. Your parents or loved ones who file have to pay for a court-appointed attorney and the medical visits that are not covered under Medicaid. That's what I saw the other little bit ago, ain't it? Cat ride. The greatest gift we can receive is love, compassion. Sometimes it's just a hug. It's true. That's true. Angela Marissa. Hey, thank you so much for starting this channel. Also, your mama was one of my professors in college. Love her. Yes, she's a good teacher. I had the guy over in Cumberland. I forget his name now, but it was my very first math class. And Mom put me in his class because of the time, day and time or whatever. And I went to like 1, 2, 3 classes at the most. And I just could not understand nothing that he said. Roy Silver, that's who it was, I think. Couldn't understand nothing he was saying. Like and I'd sit in the class all hour still. Whenever I left, I was lost. I went home and told Mom, and she said, "Come here." And she went over it one time. One time, that was it. And I got it. It's how a person teaches sometimes makes all the difference. Now, if I sat in that man's class for an entire hour and got nothing out of it, I just couldn't make heads or tails out of the way that he was explaining it. And then I go home and mom shows you one time and you get it. How many students are they failing on a regular basis? You know, it's no different. Teachers are no different than anything else. Competence matters. You know, I ain't saying old Silver was incompetent or anything. He was nice, and I'm sure he was just fine, wonderful person. But, you know, sometimes just because somebody's been in a position and they're 93 years old and they've been in that position for decades, maybe it's time to step aside. Let somebody else, you know, who can see and hear, let them come up. You know, I fuss about term limits. We got these people in these political positions who've been there for so damn long. Hal Rogers. Do you think he knows anything about the people here in Eastern Kentucky? He's been gone from here for too long. He's got way too much money. He cannot relate to the people of this area anymore. He can relate to all the people who run SOAR. He can relate to the governor. He can relate to the attorney general. He can relate to our state representative. He can relate to our judge executive. He don't relate to me. And I don't relate to him. And the same for everybody else in this area. If he did care, he'd be here. He'd come here. He'd talk to the people. He'd get down in the trenches with the people. The only one that I see doing that, and I'll tell you, on our fiscal court, that old Anderson boy, he ran for something. I think he ran for judge executive at one time. Now, he impressed me. And he always does. Because he ain't no ass kisser. Now, the girl that's on our fiscal court, she's trying. She's trying real hard, but I don't like her husband. I don't like him for shit. Sorry, but I don't. But she's trying. She's trying to keep notifications and stuff about stuff on Facebook. She's trying to ask questions. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that turns out. There needs to check what the Kentucky governor is doing with the recent settlement by Kroger's. Kentucky is receiving money from a lawsuit concerning the prescriptions distributed, resulting in addiction. Well, a lot of the opioid settlement money that our town's already got, it said in the paper and on some of the news stories that Van Breeding and Hill, I guess representing Hill, went around to all of the city council meetings and asked them for their money. And from what it looked to me like everybody gave it to them. I don't think Whitesburg gave them all of theirs. For some reason, I'm thinking that they gave them a majority of it, but they could have given it all to them. I don't know. Lee, Suboxone has saved my life. Absolutely. I hadn't done anything. The only thing I had done was had 2 babies back to back. And as soon as I had Alan, I started taking Suboxone. Started being able to go to church. I found a church, started being able to go to church. Started my very first semester of college. And in 6 years, I had my master's degree. And I busted my ass. Magna cum laude. Graduated magna cum laude with full honors. Presidents and deans list all the way through school. Several different honors societies. The Criminal Justice Honor Society. Phi Theta Kappa. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them ones that I'm part of. But all that stuff doesn't mean anything. It don't mean nothing. I put up a post about it on Facebook, took a picture of my degrees and put them on Facebook, and got a whole lot of people say congratulations. But that's it. That's about it. And then went to graduate school and maintained a 4.0 all the way through graduate school. I did great as a single mother of 2 infants, 2 very small children. Yeah, I did really good. I'll pat myself on the back. I told it one other time too. When you get your associate's degree, your applied science associate's degree in law enforcement, you have to take what's called the NOCTI. It's NOCTI. That's the acronym. And it's a competency test. It took me 3 hours to take the test. And it's a nationalized test. And you can't graduate. You can't get your degree if you don't take this test. It's a requirement. Well, I had the highest ever recorded national score. A 97.4 is what I got on that test. A competency test for law enforcement. I'm pretty proud of that. But nobody cares. What's it ever done for me? Nothing. Most people don't even realize what it is. Don't even realize what it means. It sure never helped me get no job or nothing. Just saying. Gene site testing is a pharmacogenomic. Sorry, I don't know that word. Test that analyzes a patient's DNA to predict how they may respond to certain medications, particularly those used to treat mental health. Very interesting. Thank you for that information, Miss Stephanie. Everybody's different. There we go. Marnie. It's not a one size fits all for each person. Everyone needs different treatments. We have different body chemistry, so different solutions for different people. And we have enough science now. There's been enough experience and testing and all this stuff to know abstinence has a very, very low success rate. Has a very high failure rate. Now, you do have a few here or there who are successful, but we're talking about long-term success. We're not talking about 6 months. Just about anybody can make it that long. But what happens when life slaps you right in the face? When your mommy passes away, or you lose your job, or you can't pay your phone bill, or listen, it can be as little as I didn't get enough sleep last night and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. Even that can make somebody relapse. And it's not the whole process of relapse, so that is not fun. So there you've got somebody who's went all through this treatment. Say they've been hired by ARC, just using them as an example. Say they get hired, they're doing good, got them a place to live, got their kids back. I mean, you can go through that much of a change and fall. It don't mean that you loved your kids any less. It don't mean that you didn't, that you were faking it all the way. It don't mean none of that stuff. It just means that you fell. It means that you fell, that you relapsed, that you had a weak moment, that, we're none perfect. It happens. When you have people like me who's on this medicine, you don't have those same kinds of weak moments. You just don't. I have enough of a therapeutic dose. I take enough of a therapeutic dose every day. Now, these people, and I'm no doctor, I'm not giving any advice, okay? But these people that are taking like a quarter of one a day, or I have a girlfriend and she takes like a quarter or a half of one in the morning, and then like 4 hours later, she's like, oh, I got the shakes, I need to take another one. And she'll take a fourth of another one and then a half of another one. But about every 3 months, she's sending me a message saying, hey, do you got a couple that I can borrow? And I'm like, hey, no, I don't. Every time, it never fails. Because they're not taking enough of a dose to where it's actually treating the problem. Like that little bit of medicine seems to take the withdrawal symptoms. It seems to kind of dampen them down. But when it comes to actually treating the problem, you're not taking enough of it for it to actually have an effect and help with the changes, the deep changes inside of our mind that we need. Does that make sense? Most cannot afford to leave. Education is a joke. They've been indoctrinated into believing their lives are normal. It seems Kentucky controls the treatment options. Suboxone and methadone is old remedy. There is an implant that has a receptor to stop the cravings. Very successful. One implant for a year. I think it's the same medication. I think the only thing that's different, though, is the delivery. So some people can take a shot. It's a monthly shot, and it's the same medicine as the Suboxone, only it's not, you don't take a pill every day. They give you a shot. Now, I've talked to two different people, types of people. I've spoken to those who take the shot and it seems to have helped them, that they like it. My girlfriend who takes the mood stabilizer now, she started, whenever they had put her on Suboxone, she said she wanted to go on to that shot so she could come back off of it because she wasn't planning on staying here. She wanted to leave. She was afraid she wasn't going to have a doctor, She didn't want to be sick and not have a plan in place. So she really did it very well. And then she used that shot and she brought herself off of it that way. And then she ended up on that mood stabilizer, and she's doing really, really good. I've spoke with other people who've taken that shot and they didn't do well. One guy, the medicine, they stuck it in his belly and it created a really big, like, infected place in his stomach. And they ended up having to go in and scrape it. And now he's got a huge hole in his belly from that medicine. And I don't know if it was the medicine. I don't know if it's the shot. I don't know. I have no idea. But he did not react well to it. He had a horrible time. But so there, and alcohol. They also have a medicine now where they can treat alcohol the same way that they do, like with Suboxone. A lot of teachers are essays too. I know, we're seeing that over and over and over again. Jet Electro, I'm drinking coffee and eating Cheetos. Sounds good. Sounds good. Jersey bread. I guess it's like a battered woman who keeps going back to their abuser. Denise, I have some people who, me because I've used F patches for my back pain for literally years, long before the horrible days of people using fentanyl to lace everything to do away. Yeah, and it's hard to get that anymore. People who really do need pain medicine for legitimate reasons. When I was prescribed X, my doctor wouldn't refill on weekends because they told me they didn't want me to use it to party on that weekend. Well, a lot of people go away to college, but they go back to take care of their parents. That's true. Many health problems in the elderly. It's a cycle. Yeah. Yeah. Family loyalty is a big thing, as it should be. Mountain people do not abandon their elderly or sick. That's a really good point. It's a really good point. I'm from Hazard, Kentucky, but moved to West Virginia and got myself in the Suboxone clinic, and now I can work, sleep, and pay my own bills. That's right, honey. Me too. Me too. It's the worst to have Matt weaponized against you. Oh, it is. It sure is. You know, and I wanted to be like the poster child. I wanted to be the example, and I was willing to put myself out there, you know. I felt like I'd been kicked in the teeth so much, you know. It couldn't hurt. Let me go out and be the example that y'all use, you know, on the mat side. Like, so you had people that they were, now at the time, I didn't know all that I know now, right? So when I was trying to break in them circles and stuff, I didn't know what I know now. So it really hurt. Like, nobody wanted to hear anything I had to say, and they just mock me, laugh at me, and really, really disrespectful and rude, very dismissive, you know. That's really kind of hard to take at the time, you know, especially to your face. It was hard. And I didn't really understand why. And I thought, that's okay. That's all right. You won't listen to me now, but you wait till I come back. You'll listen to me then. That's what I thought. So I went to school and I did all that. And I did all that. And I did all that. And then I came back and I was like, now you're going to listen to me. I got this piece of paper that said I was qualified. They didn't listen then either. Jet, understand it's all a racket. See, I didn't get it then. I didn't understand it. I thought we were really trying to put together programs that were going to help people, that were going to, change the world. It sucks when you're very idealistic. Your addiction, your legal troubles, your self-destruction, and your recovery. It all makes money for someone else. Hillbilly Forager. LaShawna Frazier and Dina Hall both got paid to have their hair done on the clock. Both also had Curve membership. Both worked primarily in the office. LaShawna was given the title of a queen officer. Yeah, we found that out in the deposition. So she's the one who would go out and do investigations on like livestock and horse cruelty, which I know we have some horses around here, but we sure don't have a whole lot of them. I don't know. Anyway. Let me see. Oh, yeah. And tonight's show, we will look at a couple other things, but so they've put the order in for Mickey's mental health evaluation. Ganja Grand. Scott's dad was Daryl that owned Frazier Auto back in the day. Is LaShawna Frazier part of Frazier's store down there in town? Scott and LaShawna may be by marriage. LaShawna married Frazier. Is that Frazier's Farmer Supply? Is she that? Are they those Fraziers? Because that has been a very profitable business in Whitesburg and has been there for a long time. So if she's part of those Fraziers, that's very interesting. I did some math, and if they would have took even 10% of the money coming in, everybody there would have a nice home, even if they just built a couple of apartment complexes. At least she's preaching the truth. Anyone who has not driven through Letcher County needs to. You'll get a better understanding of what people face. Until you experience it, you'll never fully understand it. Yeah, that's true. I despise fake. Me too. Oh, yeah. Does Daniel still wear cowboy boots to court? I've never seen him in anything but. With his hair all slicked back like he's a Elvis. He's disgusting. No way. His big thing, he'd go around and tell everybody. Allegedly. I ain't no drug addict. I ain't no addict. I'm just a hardcore pervert pay. Ain't proud of it. Tell it to anybody that'll listen. Allegedly. Every person is fined in the court system through taxes, etc. It is the welfare system for wealthy. Cindy RN. Then they hold the people in jail because they can't pay the fees to get out of jail. Debtor's prison was outlawed 100 years ago, but they still do it. Wow. Now, the way that it worked whenever I remember was it didn't matter if you had Medicaid. It didn't matter if you had any insurance. Whenever you go to jail, they don't take your, like, they cut your Medicaid off. If you are on like disability and you get an SSI check and you go to jail and you have to be in jail for, say, 90 days, you get a 90-day sentence, your check gets cut off while you're in there. They won't keep paying it. And your insurance, if you have to go to the doctor, if they got to take you to the ER, they're not using your insurance. You're a cash patient and you have to pay cash. And the way you don't pay the doctor, you don't pay, that you have to pay the jail. So I guess the jail would be on the hook for the person that they had to take to the ER, which around here, do you know how many people have died because they weren't taken to a doctor? They've laid in these old jails until they died because they would not take them to see a doctor. These old jails, oh, if they actually investigated, if they would actually do what was right and hold people accountable for their actions. You know, these people who have these jobs, you know, you could have somebody who's really, really sick and needs a doctor, needs to go to the hospital. But they just, they ain't going to take them. Oh, they're faking. I don't believe them. We're not going to go pay that bill. Whose decision is that? Who's making that decision? Because then they lay there and die. Who's held accountable for that? Not a damn one of them around here. Because who's going to prosecute it? You got to have somebody willing to actually prosecute this stuff. You got to have investigators who are actually going in looking for a crime. They don't want to find a crime. These are their buddies. These are their friends. These are the people who they are in cahoots with to get as much money, federal money, as they can get brought into this area because they ain't got no other way to make the money. Whoop, whoop. I have to say, from a hard-earned dollar worker, I'm so glad somebody is standing up to these money-grubbing, greedy, hind-end individuals. Well, I mean, all I'm doing is just sitting here telling how I feel about this stuff. You know, and most of us do feel this way, is the thing. You've got a few. You've got a wealthy few who seem to get away with all of this. Tim Collins, I seen it go on for 40 years. Not quite like how Elizabeth brings it out. Because everybody's been witness to all of this. All of us. We've all been affected by it, whether it's been us personally have been affected, or one of our loved ones, one of our family members. So one of our guests that we're going to be having on the show this week, I'm not sure what day, but I'm working on it. Her spouse, her husband, had a transplant. Now, she's a school teacher. These are good people. Good people. No history of addiction or anything like that. She was a first grade, second grade school teacher. She was one of my boys' school teachers back several years ago. So her husband had a transplant. I don't know I think it was a kidney transplant. It was a serious thing. He'd been sick for a long time. And he ended up having a mental health situation, episode, whatever. And I think she took it. We're going to watch the thing where she tells it all. So if I get something wrong right now, I'm sorry, but we're going to watch it, the video. And then she's going to come on and tell us. So if I get a piece of it wrong, I'm sorry. But, so she ended up taking him to the ER or I think. And anyway, she went to seek medical help. And they ended up taking him to jail. He was criminalized for asking for help. And she had such a horrible time. She had a horrible time getting anybody to listen to her. She needed help. She needed someone to do what was right. And it took her a while to get it. So, but we're going to watch the videos and hear her explain it. And we're just going to bring some attention to the much needed issue of mental health in southeastern Kentucky, because you got a whole lot of people who are in a whole lot of positions who escalate situations, who absolutely have no idea. They don't have no business being in the position that they are in when they make these kinds of poor decisions. You know, history means something. So if you've got a company who has been accused of inappropriate billing and unethical business practices, and you see a pattern where this has happened repeatedly over several years, how are you going to trust that? How are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt? And you know what I mean? Like, why are they getting all this money? Why them? You know? Why them? There wasn't nobody better. So, anyway. Someone needs to do family trees to see how far back these roots are planted. Oh, they go back a long way, y'all. Long way. Criticism is often envy in disguise. Yeah, I get that. I can see that. Absolutely. Absolutely. People need to watch the now governor. All his videos trying to push for federal funding, making sure to say Kentucky is a welfare state. He has funneled enough to feed every child in Kentucky. Yep. Pride goeth before the fall. Yep. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it doesn't come out that some of the higher ups aren't collecting and then distributing rugs to keep the cycle going. Listen, where's all the evidence? Where's the money, the rugs, the pew-pews they were taking off of everybody and plastering all over Facebook? Where's all that money? Where's all the rugs? Well, we saw Edison Banks, our Commonwealth attorney's little girlfriend, trafficking it all up and down Letcher County, allegedly. There have been plenty of newspaper articles. There have been plenty of stories written about it, but no prosecutions. No criminal cases prosecuted. The only one asking questions about that was Mickey. And we see how far that got him, didn't we? Elizabeth, the facilitator of corruption awareness. Smash that like button, y'all. Please hit that for me. I just had to pay $700 yesterday on a bill. And I could use every bit of help that I can get. Oh, that was just one bill. I was a month behind. Angela, hey girl, hey, thanks for the shout out. You're welcome, honey. Miss Shirley, so proud of you. You are really mad today, showing you care about the subject. Mad enough to use colorful language. I'm laughing all over my kitchen. Sorry. It just puts a burr under my saddle, y'all. And rehab centers will tell them that relapse is a part of recovery. So it makes it acceptable to relapse and then come back so they can get more money. And it is. Relapse is a part of recovery. But it's not something that we want to happen, right? Like, we want to prevent it if we can. Because every time you relapse, you might not make it back. I didn't have another relapse in me. All those times I went to rehab, I was abstinent. They didn't have MAT back then. It was abstinence. Yeah, as long as I was in a controlled environment, I was good. It didn't happen until I was home. And I didn't have a home to go to after I left rehab. I never had a stable home. I was just wherever anybody would let me stay with them. And you wear your welcome out, you're not staying there very long. And then you got to work on finding somebody else that'll let you come stay with them. You can't work. You ain't got a car. You ain't even got your own washer and dryer to wash your clothes. People don't understand. It's not as easy to get a job and work if you don't have a stable place to live. If you can't take a bath and brush your teeth and wash you a clean pair of socks, and it's just not that easy. And nowadays we've got cell phones. So, and like they've got that hub down there in Whitesburg. Well, it closes at 4:00. Most of them people ain't even out of bed yet at 4:00, y'all. They're night owls, so that means they stay up all night and then they sleep all day. It's not like the rest of the real world. I don't know. But they don't think about those things. Yeah, come on in and get you a cup of coffee. Sit down and use the internet. Greed is throughout our healthcare system and justice system. I saw something the other day. Somebody said that Mickey Stines was the hillbilly equivalent to Mangino or whatever his name is. That's what people are comparing him to. Mickey Stines is the equivalent of the healthcare pew person. What's his name? Mangino? Is that his name? It'll kill me till I gotta figure it out. I know that's not his name. Healthcare pew person. Mangione. So some people are equating Mickey Stines, calling him the hillbilly Mangione. Does anyone remember when being a lawyer or a doctor was a noble profession? Well, I think it was really wonderful when these when our family doctors finally were able to write Suboxone. Like, that always made the most sense to me. And I used to suggest it. I used to say, why ain't we got our doctors prescribing this? Like, this is where I go. My family doctor knows my history. She knows my family history. She knows my kids. She sees my kids. She don't just see me. She sees my kids. She is very, very familiar with my whole life, not just the Suboxone. So anything that I'm ever prescribed, like, she knows it all. That's always made the most sense to me. Why aren't more family doctors writing this? And then they started letting them. They started letting nurse practitioners write it. And so you could also go see a nurse practitioner and get your medicine. Well, that did away with the actual the clinic scheme, where that $400 in cash and counseling, and it really put an end. Oh, I don't know if it put an end to it, but it stopped a lot of it. But then you had a lot of family doctors who wouldn't prescribe it. Like I said, they didn't want anything to do with it. Thank God mine did. Like, she's always been a trendsetter, I guess. Best woman I've ever met in my life, buddy. She'll sit and pray with you in the doctor's office, She'll pray with you. Believes in God like nobody I've ever seen, just salt of the earth people here in southeastern Kentucky. We got the best people of all. We really, really do. But on the other side of that coin, you've also got some of the greediest and worst. But you know what? They've also been sloppy. And I think they've been sloppy for a long time because they've been so used to being in power and so used to being able to cover their tracks. And they've had so many connections and people that have helped them. Family members. Think about it. Terry Adams, second cousin to Van Breeden. So that means our judge executive is family with those who run MCHC. You got a lot of familial connections behind the scenes here that I think are very, very shocking. Kathy Hatfield, congratulations on all you've accomplished. First time on here, and I love this channel. Oh, thank you, Miss Kathy. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. It's an entirely different world once you go into those mountains. I tell people all the time because I no longer live there. You just wouldn't understand unless you've been there. Yeah. Jesus loves you, okay? I love that. Yes, he does. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Since getting your degree, were you able to find any way to use your education that you've enjoyed before having your YouTube channel? Not with my degree. Now, I've been a substance abuse counselor. I've worked as one, so I know. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. They didn't care. People that was running them counseling centers, they did not care. You had to be on from 9 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening, and you've got an hour schedule with each patient for, an hour. There's no breaks. even if you're working from home. Well, I got to be on this camera talking to somebody from the from the top of the hour all the way back around. And then at the top of the hour starts a whole new patient. Like, they don't care about their employee, or, well, wherever I was at didn't. And I saw a lot on the administrative side at that job that was just dirty as hell. Dirty as hell. Loopholes. Loopholes. I've seen it. I've just seen it. I've worked as a case manager at a homeless shelter in Pikeville. Now, each of those jobs was a $30,000 a year salary. I can't raise 2 kids and support myself and my family on $30,000 a year. I can't do it and be out of poverty. You just can't. And that's not why I went to school and worked so hard to get my master's, to make $30,000 a year. I can make that at working at Hardee's. Just about it. So I ended up, out of a lack of any other options, a lady hired me for a 100% commission job. So I did not get paid unless I sold something in sales. I sucked. I was working regularly 40 hours a week and didn't make nothing. And that was really hard to get used to. I was the watershed coordinator under Headwaters, Inc., the nonprofit that we worked doing tap water testing and a lot of water testing work. That was the one that I wrote all the grants for. Well, not all. I wrote 2 grants. I worked on more than that, but that's where I learned all of the nonprofit mess and jargon. So now when I see it, I recognize it. I can spot it a mile away where other people can't, because they just hadn't experienced what I went through, or, all the things that I learned. And I've learned all of these from like bad experiences. I've learned all the wisdom and the knowledge that I've obtained over these several years, the last 10 years, I'd say, have all been from like failures. It's all been from things that I thought my world was just crashing to an end, I've learned way more in the times where I needed Jesus than I ever learned from any kind of success. You seem to kind of maybe take it for granted, or you think, well, sounds so good. That was so easy. You don't really learn nothing unless you struggle for it. Or at least I didn't. Just as important in addiction recovery is to isolate oneself from addicts, friends, or acquaintances. Absolutely. You have to completely change people, places, and things. And how many people can't do that because the people, places, and things are in their home? Richard, true con artist. You got that right, baby. Had a 4-legged baby issue. Did I miss anything really juicy? Let's see. Crystal says he's disgusting. There's a lot of disgusting men in Letcher County in positions of power. You know, that picture of that old Bill Meade, Ben's uncle. Now, you tell me, if Ben is telling Sabrina or Jennifer, whichever one he got to go mess with old Bill, because yes, she did. After he says, oh, I got an uncle, you need to talk to him. He gives the uncle her phone number. The uncle actually calls her and he says, oh, well, he can help you out with your court problems. He can help you. He can help you. Well, all he did was just pimp her out to his uncle. That's it. Where's those charges? Where's those charges? Attorney General's investigator, Matt Easter. Where's that? Where's any mention of that part of that case? How is that not human trafficking? How is that not sex trafficking? Tell me. I want to know. How is it not? When your office has an entire department and task force design set straight for that, and all through that, through the website, it tells about it. How can you not acknowledge that and identify it? I'd like to know that. He's a little old man. He was in his 80s. Well, we know how he was connected. He was real good friends with Edison Banks and a couple other people. Well, it's the same thing like with Ben and the rumors. Well, if these girls, Jennifer and Sabrina, heard the rumors about Ben and that if you didn't have the money, then you could do favors for Ben, well, then that means there were girls before them. That means he had sent other girls to to Uncle Bill. Where's any looking into that? Where's the investigations into that? What is an investigation? I was thinking about that. I want to see what an investigation definition is. The action, this is from Oxford Languages Dictionary, Google Dictionary. The action of investigating something or someone, formal or systematic examination or research. He is under investigation for receiving illicit funds. It's a formal inquiry or a systematic study. An investigation has been launched into the potential impact of the oil spill. So, it's a formal inquiry. So that's all that the definition is of an investigation. So how is that I wonder how that is internalized by the different agencies. How well do they do an investigation? What do they do to do an investigation? What do their investigations criteria? Do they have one? Do they have like a checklist that they have to go through whenever they do an investigation? What is their policy or policies regarding conducting an investigation? This matters. Unbelievable that it does, but it matters. Can't imagine the looks all these people have have to remember the government nor the pharma companies don't want cures. A patient cured is a customer lost. That's so true, Randy. So true. The Bible verse about people without vision perishing goes through my mind the whole time. Yeah. Yes, they will not take them to the ER, except for the ones that are under investigation for a death. Then they will ROR them, felony charges or not. Well, I watched a woman lay and die in the old Harlan jail. I watched one woman, she laid for days and her face swelled up. She had an abscess or something, a tooth. I know it sounds small, like trivial. It wasn't that important, or at least that's what they thought at the jail until she almost died. The infection, I guess, her whole neck just swelled out like this. It was awful. When they finally did take her to the ER, she was kept. I think they flew her out to UK or something. Whenever they brought her back, she had a scar because they had to cut her open and drain all that or something. She had a scar that went all the way down her neck, down her chest. It was awful. And they said if they would have just taken her to the emergency room, they could have treated it and it wouldn't have gotten to the point that it did. But she almost lost her life. And there have been several that do. I had a patient scheduled for surgery, and the jail transferred the patient to another jail day before surgery. They would not let me know where he was transferred. Guess no, he never had surgery. They are. You hit the nail on the button. You hit the head on the button. There we go. Brian Dameron sold the pews. Yeah, he got in trouble for it. That's another instance. Did they just throw Dameron under the bus? Did they throw Dameron under the bus so there wasn't no more investigating into who else was taking money? Because I don't think that there was ever really any investigation. Like Dameron was kind of threw to the wolves the same way that Ben Fields was. Get them to plead guilty, and they need to plead guilty to a certain level of culpability, and then we just won't dig no more. We won't dig no further. We won't dig no deeper. And then everybody lays low for a little while, and then just starts your antics back up again. There still has not been any that I've found. We don't have no record of where all this evidence goes. Like I want to know, where does it go? What do you do with the rugs? What does the Letcher County Sheriff's Department do with the rugs that they confiscate off the street? I want to see. I want to see some kind of document that tells us where it goes, what they do with it. What do they do with the money? Do they put it in a bank account? The cash money that they take off of people's person when they do a big bust or whatever. They're not giving it back. So what do they do with it? They're not turning a record over to the state. There sure ain't no record of the forfeiture assets being sent in. We done looked. So where's it at? Where's the records being kept? And what do you do with it? I want to know. So what's Billy Jones doing now? There had to have been a policy. There had to have been a procedure before he became sheriff. What is it? What was it then and what is it now? And who's in charge of it? The longer people are sick, the more businesses and insurance profit. Healthy outcomes decrease revenue streams. Yeah. I'm from Pine Gap, Kentucky. Well, that's just right down the road, Miss Vicky. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Terry, whatever circle Ben Fields is attached seems deep to control a lot in that area. Him and his wife seems attached to high places to get in the positions to manipulate anyone in the court system there. And they're just low. They were low players. They're just low players. There's a lot over top of them. A lot. And you see, she was a big baller all the way up until Mullins was pew-pewed. Because it looked to me like she was the first one in there to him after he was pew-pewed. It looked to me like Ben Fields' wife, Angie, was the very first one in the chambers to reach Mullins. So that's an interesting piece. Con artist. Agree. PIMPing amounts to economic schmeck trafficking. Yep. Bobcat. Philo 34. Burger King investigation. Nothing is government. Absolutely nothing. It's about what we got around here. Might have a grill. Pine Mountain investigation. Pine Mountain investigation. Bond fraud going on at every fake courthouse. I'm telling you. Every courthouse in America is privately owned trading company. Department of Defense runs all the courts. I'm not sure. It looks to me like AOC is over the court systems here in Kentucky, and that's the administration of the courts. I wasn't really familiar all that much with them until this happened, with the judge and the camera getting put in the judge's chambers. So the camera was only put in the judge's chambers after Ben Fields pled guilty to what he was doing to those women. Well, he only pled guilty to one. His criminal investigation and criminal charges were only, his criminal conviction was only for one person. The other one OD'd and is unalived, which is very, very suspicious, especially nowadays when an OD can be induced and manipulated by another party very easily. So I don't put it past nobody. Absolutely nobody. And we just got too many unsolved red rums around here. Are they connected? I don't know. Could they be connected? Absolutely. Do you think we've got a problem with white collar crime? Oh, yeah, we do. Big problem. They just thought most of us hillbillies was too dumb to know, was too dumb to catch on. We all just too desperate and uneducated to be able to figure it out. There've been a lot of people thought I was too stupid to figure stuff out. It gets me in a lot of trouble. Because I start asking questions. And then they don't like me. Because I ask too many questions. All right, guys. I sure appreciate you all. Welcome to the channel, Bobcat Philo 34, Con Artist, Perfect Sunrise. Thanks for being here, sweetheart. Super Fuzz. Love it, love it, love it. If any of you all want to reach out, if you've got tips, if you've got anything to share with me, hillbillycrime@gmail.com. We've been doing our baseball games the last couple of days, so I've been editing all my pictures that I took. If you want to see all the photographs, jump on Facebook. We got them all linked up in the links. You can go to the Facebook. I did set up my Patreon, and I'm going to start working on that a lot. I've just got so much. I really need to hire somebody. I need to hire somebody to help me finish this Shopify, my Shopify merch, to get my merch ready. I'm having a hard time doing it all myself. There's just too many, not enough hours in the day. So if anybody can help me, reach out to me. hillbillycrime@gmail.com. Tonight, I'm not sure what time practice and stuff is, so it'll probably be a little bit later. At 7 o'clock usual time is probably going to go up some. So just look for my scheduled thumbnail. We'll do another show tonight, and tomorrow I need to make some money, y'all. We got to eat the rest of this month. Struggling. Thank you. Jackie Moore became a YouTube member. Kentucky Bluebird. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Janelle 2.0. Bless you, bless you, bless you. I appreciate you more than you ever know. All right, guys. Well, y'all have a great rest of your day. I got to go get the boys. Peace out, Girl Scout.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the